Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Grind and Grow, the show where real business owners share the grind behind the growth. No fake success stories, no overnight wins, just honest lessons, hard truths, and the methods that actually work. So, if you're building something from the ground up, you are in the right place. I am very honored to announce our next guest on the Grind and Grow show, Mr. Lunga Chuka. How are you, sir? Welcome to the Grind and Grow
Hi,
show.
Pam. Thank you so much for having me on the show, man. Like I was just saying before, I literally just heard about you. And then next thing you know, I got a text and now you're on the show. So thanks for having me, man. And not for making me
No
wait.
problem.
So yeah, I'm happy to be. I'm happy
No
to be here, and
problem.
I'm always happy to share my journey. But if it may be of value to someone, or just for people to learn more about me. So that's cool.
Amazing, amazing. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. So, Lunga, the grind and the grow show, it's all about the journey. It's all about the grind and it's about the journey of growth and how you are where you are today, right? So I'm gonna let you take us back, right? Who was Lunga before the comedy found him?
Wow. So before comedy, I was pretty much I was a entertaining kid. Like I was very entertaining to be around. I liked making my friends laugh and that kind of thing, and making people laugh. People found me funny, and I thought, okay, cool, I'll use that as a strength of to my personality. But I used to work for an NPO called Spades.
Okay.
There used to be Spades at the time, and we'd work with kids in high school from grade 10 to grade 12. And that was all about leadership and peer education and things like that. So I was on the program as a kid. And then immediately when I matriculated, the boss was like, hey, man, we like the way the enthusiasm and everything on the program. We want to offer you a job if it's something that you'd be interested in. So I did that for about 4 years. Yeah, so I was a youth worker and working with kids, doing camps and leadership programs. That's what I used to do. That was kind of like my grind, and
Yeah.
what I basically invested my personality, who I am, and what defined me basically at the time. That was
Got you.
who I. That's yeah. Out of school, that's basically what I was doing. Yeah.
Got you, got you. And tell me, Lunga, when did you realize, okay, this could actually be something in terms of comedy?
It was actually immediately after my first time on stage, because I remember after like performing the first time on stage, I went backstage like you usually do, and I did it with a friend of mine. We were just talking. We were like, "Oh man, that was crazy! Oh, I'm so glad we actually did that." And then another comedian who's well established came to me and he was like, "Hey man, well done for your first time doing comedy. You know what? Your story is original. You're very very funny and it's different and that kind of thing. If you stick to this, you'll really have a good career in this game." And he's like,
Yeah,
"What are you
yeah.
doing tomorrow?" And I was like, "I'm free." Or like, it's like, "Okay, cool. I have another gig tomorrow. I'd like you to come through." I was like, "Wow!" So I got booked from my first gig, and then another comedian, an award-winning actor. I don't know if I can drop names here, but out
You
of
can
respect,
drop
I
names.
won't.
We are real here. You can promote. You can
Okay, cool.
promote.
So Siv came to me and he was like, "Hey man," and he was like, "Listen, I've been in this game for a while now, and I know some of the guys who are really doing well in this game." And he kind of like gave me like projected some prices of money that these people make. And I was like, "Wow, that's insane of comedy." And he's like, "Yeah," and he was like, "You're really good, and this is something that you can really be really good at if you like take it that seriously and you really put in the work that needs to be put in. You will really, really
Yeah,
go far. You've really got something special." And I was like, wow, and just like so much good feedback. So many people were like, "Dude, stick to it." And that's when I was like, okay,
yeah,
I guess this is something I really can do. Like, wow, thank you guys, what a good start. What a
yeah.
good start. From the get go, I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to take it seriously.
Great stuff. And then tell me, Lunga, what pushed you to choose comedy over a safe, when I say safe, a safe career path?
I would say God did. Like DJ Khaled, God did. um, it's 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 crazy because like Friends of mine, like when I was working at the youth development agency, right? My fellow colleagues, they would always like hint and be like, because they love the way I would relay stories of what I experienced or what happened over the weekend, and just the way I would relay the things and like reenact all of these things. They would be like, "Dude, you
Yeah.
are so funny. You should either be a comedian or an actor, but we feel more like a comedian, like you should." And I was like, no, 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 no. Like I was so afraid of the idea of being stepping on stage. Yes, now just a little backstory. Like I used to dance from back in 2003. I used to dance. I was part of a b-boy crew. We did that for about like 4 or 5 years, and then I stopped that.
Okay.
So I do have experience of being on stage and performing and that kind of thing in that industry. So I knew that, but then I when I worked with the NPO, I worked as a I work so we would do like what we would do to keep the program like alive and vibrant for the kids. We would like have
Yeah.
sometimes
Yeah.
these like we'll have like shows, variety shows where the kids can compete in singing, dancing, acting, and that. And us as staff members would then have to be the MC. So that's the first time I stepped into MC. And what I would do as like a nervous reaction whenever I feel like, oh, I need to do something, because I felt like as the MC, you have to be engaging and the audience always has to be
Yeah.
like alive and like, and it's
Yeah.
your job to
Yeah.
do that. So what I would do whenever I felt nervous or I felt like I need to engage right now, I'd be quirking on stage, I'd be like funny, and I'd do a little dancing, a little beatboxing, stuff that I've learned before. And people would be like, after shows, would be like, dude, you are so funny. We want to come and see your full comedy set. And I'm like, no, I'm not a comedian. I'm just doing this thing. So, and it was so much pressure to the point where we kind of like felt like peer pressure. And it's when I got sick in 2010 at the age of 21. I was diagnosed with TB, and that really like shook my world, took separated me from everyone and everything, and really like turned my whole life up like 360. Like everything that I thought my
Hmm.
life was going and what direction I was heading was a complete flip. And that's why I say God did, because that was actually my activation, and God spoke to me and showed me through a series of dreams of my talents and everything, and where I'm meant to be. I'm meant to be on stage and all of that. I'm supposed to entertain crowds and engage with big crowds and that kind of thing. And he showed me like all of those dancing and everything prior to that were all little hints and preparing me. And this is where I need to step into now. So
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
healed from the TB, I remember going back to my job and being like, guys, I have to leave. And they're like, what? Like, and I was like, yeah. And they're like, I have to go to the stage. And they're like, do you have like another job? You're quitting and usually you have another job lined up. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I just know what I need to do and I'm going to follow my path. And that's what really, set the whole thing for me being a comedian. So that's how comedy actually found me. I would say,
Amazing.
like, once God spoke, I was like, okay, cool, I get it. I'm going to do it. And He spoke to me through a series of dreams. I was like, cool. And ever since then, I've been this person. I've been on stage and I've been like a public figure and more confident and that kind of thing in myself and what I'm doing. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that's how I got here now.
Great stuff, man. And then, and Lunga, you spoke about you being diagnosed with TB, right? I want to know maybe from your perspective in terms of, was there ever a moment where where you felt everything almost fell apart?
Do you mean in general, like with the comedy in my life, or are you specifically
Yeah,
talking about the TV
I'm
time?
speaking about, so we're speaking about the journey, right? In terms of the grind. So was there ever a moment where everything
Oh,
almost fell apart? You hit the kind of a moment where you thought, hey,
yeah. I mean, I would never say like, wow. There's one moment that there's two moments actually. One is where we all went through with COVID, where it was like, okay,
hmm
I don't know where we're going, what's going, because that was really like just like a complete stop. I had projects lined
yeah,
up, I had gigs lined up, I had so many things lined up and plans and stuff, and I just didn't know what's happening and where is it going and how we're going to recover. So that's a moment where I could, where a lot of people can relate to. And then
yeah, yeah,
my own personal moment would be when I had a car accident in 2018. I think I was about
okay,
30 years old or something like that. So, yeah, that for me was also, as much as it was a car accident, it was also another very spiritual lesson for me to slow down, rethink, and just like take a step back. And it kind of like defeated me a bit because like prior to that, I was really kind of, I would say, desperate to like be somewhere, make something of myself. I was showing up at the right time. I was doing exactly what you need to do. I was putting in the hours and all of
Yeah.
that. And everything I used to do would just slip through my hands and all of that. Big opportunities never fell through. I never got, and small things I would always like, oh yeah. Big things were always like, it's cancelled or postponed or we are something always comes up, where like I just can't have it, and
Yeah.
small things that I don't care about were always happening. So I was really desperate to break through out of this cycle that I've thought I was in.
Got you.
And I was
Yeah.
really pushing and I pushed to the point of like even people pleasing in some kind of way. And that
Mm.
accident just really like whoop, stopped everything and reset everything. And I do even to a point where I even feel like a part of me died. Because I used to be bald even,
Mm.
and that was that was just before COVID. And I used to be bald and that kind of thing. And then was this time in COVID
Mm.
where we couldn't buy anything else but essentials. So going to the barber or buying a
Yeah.
clipper wasn't essential. So I had to grow out my hair. And then from that, I started experimenting. I went into dreadlocks and then I just came up with this new style and everything. But so much has changed ever since I had that accident, too. Soon after that, I started my healing journey, too, which also changed my whole perspective on myself and how I carry myself
Mm-hmm.
and how I contribute to society and whatever. Yeah, I would definitely say that could also be like a moment where you could say like things have changed for me where I had to I felt like a redoing myself, rewriting my story. Okay, this is who I am now, and this is how I move
Yeah.
forward.
100%. Great stuff. And let's move on further onto the grind, right? So let's speak about finding your voice. So how did you develop your comedic style? Was this something natural or was this intentional?
It was natural, I would say, because okay, prior to starting, I would share with a friend of mine who I used to watch comedy with, and I told him like, man, I'm so like I don't know how to start, I don't know how to like put myself out there, like how do I present myself? And then he's like, watch comedy and find someone that you like who's already doing it,
Hmm.
who's kind of like similar to your style, and then you just see how they do it, and then I was like,
Yeah.
that's the best advice. And then for me, the time who really felt like, this is something I could do, like this is my style, was Pablo Francisco. I needed to say that because I was going to
Mm.
say Pablo Escobar, and he's not a comedian. Pablo Francisco. So Pablo
Yeah.
Francisco was I don't know if he's still alive. I'm not sure if he still does comedy, but I remember the first time I saw him because he does storytelling and he does impersonations and he does sound effects.
Yeah.
And because I used to do beatboxing from dancing and all of that, and I would naturally do impersonations in my storytelling when I used to tell my friends, I was like, this feels like something I could do. And then I would
Yeah.
just watch
Yeah.
him and see how he would set up a joke. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I would write my own kind of jokes and set it up in my own kind of way. And then I was just doing that and just like letting things land and whatever happens, happens. People always enjoyed it and that kind of thing, because I was always like, my stories are always interesting. And I'm not what you see is not what you get, especially if
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
especially if you speak to me off stage, I have a different energy off stage than on stage. So it's always like, wow, it's like, I could say like someone could think of me as a mystery, And then it was only like again around 2018, somewhere there. That's when I figured out, oh, this is my style. This is I figured out the formula of how to do
Mm.
what I do. But before that,
Mm-hmm.
I was just writing and just going with, and going with intuition. But it's only in
Yeah.
2018, 2019, I was like, oh, this is the formula of doing how I'm doing. Oh, and then I started noticing it in people. Like, for example, Kevin Hart, I started noticing it and I started noticing in Trevor Noah. I was like, okay, that's how they write, because you
Yeah.
start to see, not from the audience, you start to see from the comedian's point of view and be like, oh, and you start to understand the thinking process and be like,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh my word, and it just blows your mind. And once I figured that out, that's when I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly what my strengths are. I don't anymore go to shows feeling like, oh, I hope it's good. I go to shows knowing that it's good. I go there to actually bring the fire as opposed to
Yeah.
soaping, crossing my fingers and say, hey, let's see what today brings. I go there with the intention to be good because I know what I'm bringing. I know my marks. I know where I expect people to laugh. I know exactly what to do. I know how to read a crowd and be like, okay, I'm going to do this kind of material because it's this kind of crowd tonight.
Yeah,
Those things
yeah,
I really started to find. That I would say like that's when I truly found my voice and be like, cool, I know what I'm doing. And I know it so well that I can teach it to someone else.
yeah,
I
yeah.
can explain
Got
it to
you.
someone else and teach it to someone else.
Got you. I'm glad you mentioned teaching because we'll get there, right? We'll get there when we come to the growth segment of the interview. But I just wanted
For
to
sure.
ask you as well, like what makes South African comedy unique in your opinion?
The fact that we are so diverse. We are so diverse. Like in one street, you, you have so many different characters. You might have an Indian family, and then you have a black family and a colored family, you know. And if you grow up hanging out with all of those different friends and experiencing the different cultures and stuff like that, you have a bit of a story and a bit of experience that you can, which is more
Yeah,
broad and which is more and it's so easy. You can find yourself in a workplace with an Indian guy or a black guy or Chinese or that kind of thing. So South Africa is so beautiful for that. And my mentor even used to say, like, because he used to work in different places in different parts of the world and especially experience first world countries and that kind of thing. And he's like, out of all of these first world and proper things and all of that stuff, he prefers being in SA because SA, he likes the resilience of our people and
yeah,
even though some of us are struggling and in poverty, he likes what that has birthed, you know, like creativity. And he made me aware
yeah,
of like, you'll never find in England people like making a car out of tupachis, you know, like a cool drink bottle, stuff like it, or waste. And that's like something beautiful that you'll find, like maybe in the township, you know, the creativity and stuff like that, you know. So sometimes the struggle pushed us to, you know, to become something beautiful, something magnificent, something that someone wouldn't think of because every day is so perfect, you know. So
yeah,
when
yeah,
you like, even me, you know, like I wouldn't think of like, because I don't see scrap around me, I throw scrap away. But then you go maybe to the township and you're like, whoa, these kids have built like a soccer field, you know, and everything like that. And, like this is made of rubbish and scrap that you see around, you know, and so many things and built cars and things like that, you know, and just like how
yeah,
diverse and like how we think and how the people are. We have funny characters. We have funny characters. We have normal people. We have normal people. We have so many different people. We have your religious person. We have so, and then he's like, and in so many of these places, you can so easily find one type of people or one type of person.
yeah,
And that for
yeah.
him is very like I'm used to a buffet, I'm used to a buffet of kind of people and personalities and stuff like that. So I feel like our stories and our experiences really, really add value to us as comedians and storytellers, you know, and filmmakers and stuff like that, because we really
Hmm.
can capture so many essence of so many different types of people and walks of lives. And if you capture that really nicely, you know, you really paint a good picture. And I think that's what Trevor Noah did, and that's why he went global, you know.
Yeah,
He went
yeah.
global very, very quickly because of the richness of the stories that he was telling and the types of people he was talking about and his different experiences. And he could have only obtained that by being a South African. So
Yeah,
I hope that
100%. I
answered your
agree.
question. Yeah.
Amazing. Got you. Got you. So I want to go a bit further now where we actually hit the core of what the podcast is about, and that's the business side, right? So we're gonna go into the business side of comedy, right? Because this is part of the core of Grind and Grow. Where we talk about business, you as an individual, as an entrepreneur, this is your grind and grow story, right? This is the business side. People see the laughs, but what does the business side actually look like?
The business side is building relationships. Networking is very, very important. Creating your own content. It's actually like a business. Some people think like, it's something that you are. No, it's actually a business because you gain followers and stuff like that. So I would say you gain clients. You know, there's rapport with clients. I would say because one eventually when you do your show, it's that people who's going to come to your show, you know, that people that you've gained rapport. So content creation is key. I'm not doing that, but content creation is key. um Having a team, having a team is also very, very important. A team that helps you with visions and things like that. A team that helps you with um closing the gap with brands that would possibly collaborate with you, getting your campaigns and things like that, getting shoots done. Yep, that's all part of the business. And also getting some representation like corporate gigs. You especially want to break into the corporate space where you really make
Mm-hmm.
money as a comedian. You need
Yeah.
an agent because corporate clients, it's very rare that a corporate client will just look for someone random on YouTube. They usually
Yeah.
go to an agent because they know if they go to an agent, they can trust that you're professional. They can trust that you're going to show up, you're going to do what you need to do and all of that stuff and that you're good, so they don't have to suss out and look for a lot of people. So
Yeah.
the corporate gigs you wanna have an agent that represents you because that's where the big money comes in.
Got you.
And you could live if you were just doing corporates, throughout the year, you could really, really live because corporates pay anything between like 10, 15, 20, 35, for one gig. And if you do four of that in a month, and that's just in 1 week or 2 weeks, you'll be pretty good. You're really pretty
Yeah.
good,
Yeah.
especially
Then
if
your
you're a
life is
household
good.
name.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly,
Got you.
especially if
Got
you're a
you.
household name. So you wanna consider these things, you wanna be more, out there, public person, probably like in attend events, like I said, make friends or all that stuff with other artists, know your industry well, and do a lot of creating. Do solo shows too, because that's also a nice way of getting your money in, and also a nice way of building big audiences.
Yeah.
So
Got you.
that's, I would say, like, and just get out there more, travel more, try to do comedy in different places and that kind of thing. Really invest in your craft. Really, really invest in your craft. Buy a suit if you need a suit. If you've never had a suit, if you're not that kind of guy, you're gonna have to get a suit because there are still gonna be some corporate gigs and some events that are gonna require that kind of dress code.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
really, really understand your brand. Build a brand. Don't just like be wild and out there. Build a brand so that you have an identity and how other brands can relate to you, and how other brands
Yeah.
can collaborate with you. So that for me, I would say is a very healthy grind, of comedy. As a
Okay.
comedian, if you really want to like say like I'm a comedian and this is all that I do.
Yeah, got you. And you spoke about payment, right? So I'm gonna go a bit deep with you now, and it's up to you if you want to answer this. But I would like you to
Yes, go.
answer this, right? So, what was your first paid gig, and how much did you make?
My first paid gig was my second gig, and it was the guy who booked me. He came to me and then that thing when you have money in your hands and you take someone's hand and you do that, and he did that and it was 250 and I was like, what? I was like 250, and I wasn't shocked that it was 250. I was shocked that I'm getting paid because I was like, dude, I'm on day two. I'm on day two of comedy. But he's like, you did well, you brought people and that kind of thing, so you deserve a little something. Because when you start when you start out with comedy, your friends come, you have 10 friends, 15 friends, a lot of people come, and they're like, so a year after that, no one comes to watch your shows anymore. They just like your posts, they just like all your posts all the time, just like and share. They don't come
Oh
to watch
man.
anymore. So he kind of like honored me for that, for bringing people through and also for being good, delivering. And so he's like, he put 250 in my hand, and I was like, wow, I was amazed. I was amazed at the fact because I didn't expect to get paid. It's still something I was figuring out. So I didn't expect to
Yeah,
have money in my hands for my efforts at that
got you,
time.
got you. And tell me, so have you ever had to turn to comedy into a real business decision instead of passion?
Oh yeah. Yeah, of course. I
Yeah.
mean, like if I can take you back to like spoke of how when God showed me, that's when I needed to do, 'cause I was also thinking because I had to walk away from a given salary and a place that they actually liked me, I could have grown in the business. I had to walk away from that and I was just like, I'm just gonna hit the stage. I don't know how it's gonna work. Where am I gonna get money? I don't know how am I gonna survive, but I know this is where I need to go. And because of the visions and how God spoke to me, that was the one strong thing that I just stuck to. It's like I was like, I mean, no one can convince you otherwise. If God speaks to you, it's like, what the hell. So how
Got
can
you.
you like think otherwise? So I was definitely sold on this is what I need to do, and ever since then I was just pushed. In this industry, things are kind of like seasonal. You have your good times and off times and that kind of thing. But I would still choose comedy or entertainment any time of over something sustainable like a 9 to 5 or something like that. I'd rather figure out creative ways to make my art a 9 to 5 or
Mm-hmm.
creative and still doing comedy and that kind of thing, or how can I still be in this industry as a 9 to 5? I'd rather do that than choose something safe, where you just like a number in the system and you keep going and you get a certain salary at the end of the. I actually don't do well in those environments.
Got you.
Yeah, I cringe and my soul just feels like I'm not supposed to be here. And eventually I'll just quit if I have to go. If I were to go into another job for money's sake or whatever, for safe sake, I would quit or I'd be depressed. Like, let's say, like pressing issues, like I had a newborn on the way, and I feel like, okay, I can't be like, it's seasonal. I can't tell the baby like, you'll get your nappies when the season is good. So, if I were to force myself into a safe space because of my circumstances, I don't think I would be happy, but I would do what I need to do.
Yeah, got you. 100%. So Lunga, let's maybe let's go to failures, rejection, and reality, because that is part of the whole journey, right? That's from the grind. That's part
Yes.
of that whole journey about the upward trajectory, if I can call it that way, right?
Yes.
What is the worst gig that you ever had?
I would say this one time I went to Belleville, and you must know Belleville, right? I went to Belleville, and I arrive at the gig, and then it's as I'm about to walk in, there's the bouncer now, this black dude standing out there, and he stops me and he's like, "Nah, you don't want to go in here." And I was like, "What do you mean? I'm supposed to be in here?" Nah. He's like, "Trust me, you don't want to go in here." And I was like, "No, like I'm a comedian and I'm supposed to like do." So he's like, okay, just wait outside quickly." He goes inside. And then he comes out, the manager comes out, and this white guy comes up. He's like, "Hi there, how may I help you?" And I was like, "Hi there, I'm one of the comedians. I'm supposed to be performing." I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, go inside." And then I go inside, and I noticed that it's predominantly white people there, and it's just like everyone's just looking like, just like looking over the shoulder. I'm like, I'm not thinking anything of it. I'm like, hey, they're probably thinking, oh, there's a comedian. In my mind, they probably think, oh, there's the comedian. It turns out they were thinking other things. And then the bouncer also said something. He's like, before I went in, he's like, he's like, you don't want to go in here. And I was like, why? He's like, I had to already I had to chase three of our guys away. So I mean, like, what do you mean our guys? I don't know you. I just came here. What do you mean our guys? And it only clicked afterwards, like he meant three black guys needed to be chased away and that kind of thing. And I only clicked afterwards, like, oh, this is not the type of club or spot where people like me should be performing. But anyways, I was like, interesting. Let's see how this turns out. I get up on stage, people. I feel like people wanted to laugh, but they didn't want to laugh. It's like they were like holding it. And it was, and it's not that they were heckling or anything, but there was one guy who was like, Yamarum yo, to and I was like, wow. And I got on stage and I was like, yeah. And I was like, wow, what an experience. I'm gonna tell this in every interview. If people ask me, what was your worst gig? And I've played gigs where there's absolutely no one and all that stuff. I actually found those gigs a lot more challenging and interesting. Even sometimes it was like just a couple there. Nah, I've played it at gigs where it was someone's backyard, where it's like, yo, they asked the neighbors, like, yo, okay, we just do comedy. I was like, yo, I'm in someone's backyard. You're not fooling me. This is not stage. I played a gig where I was in someone's house and they just like made a little thing there. Those were all interesting. Every time I got, those curveball kind of gigs where you would have been like, what the hell is this? I always found it like interesting. New challenge accepted.
Yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah.
would say that was the worst one because obviously I wasn't wanted in that room. So I would say that was the worst.
And tell me, Lunga. So leading on to that question, right? Leading on to the model of that story, what's a lesson that failure has taught you that success never could?
Oh, failure has taught me like to stay hungry, because failure again, because failure makes you like come back stronger, come back harder, like, readjust, like everything was smooth and always successful. I don't think that you would work hard, drive. Failure has taught me a lot more focus, a lot more drive. It's also told me to readjust and also to slow down sometimes.
Yeah, yeah,
Because sometimes failures that setback can be like, oh, I see now, and from that you gain a little bit of wisdom. So moving forward, you kind of like move more cautious and not so fast anymore, or not so risky anymore. So yeah, I would say the scars and just like wisdom and drive. and strength, because like once if you're not getting there, it just makes you want to work harder and harder and harder because you're always gonna feel like, what am I not doing? What am I not doing? Why am I failing? And
Yeah.
that pushes you to put in more time, that pushes you to ask questions, that pushes you to put you in spaces where you're uncomfortable or where there's no one else like you. I've been in so many rooms where there's no other comedian, but I knew
Yeah.
it's something I needed to learn. And it's because I wasn't killing it, and it's because I wasn't on top and all of that stuff. That's why I was in those rooms and pushing myself. And now I feel like I have so much more knowledge and so much more wisdom, and especially when I give back, I have so much now to so much value to give back and so much value to add to someone growing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, I think that's that. If things are cool and I was like just hitting it on the top the whole time, I don't think I would have learned those lessons and would speak to you that way I'm speaking to you right now.
Yeah. 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 Great answer. And leading on to that, how would you deal with the comparison in the industry? How do you deal with comparison? Because there's always going to
I
be Lunga's not like Surf. Lunga's not
Yeah.
like Trevor, or
Yeah, I mean, for me, I like it when people say that because, like, I actually don't like it when you're like, "Hey, you're the next this one, you're the next." No, no, I'm the new me. I'm the new me. I'm not the next Trevor. I'm the new me. Like, you're gonna say my name. You're not gonna
yeah.
be like, "I'll up next, the next Trevor Noah Lunga." No, I'm gonna be my
Mm,
own. So I'm gonna put out my own what's the name, and I don't compare myself. I never compare myself to my peers. I understand that everyone's got their own journey and their own pace. However, there is those moments like I'm human, where you feel like, oh man, look what he's doing, or look how what they doing, and look how far they are. And either you might feel a bit of envious, or you might feel a bit of sadness of like look at my life, and like I should be
mm,
able to show a lot more for what for the time that I've put
yeah.
in this
Yeah.
game. I should be able to show a lot more. And here you have someone who's like just 2 years in the game and they've done so much. And then you like also compare yourself in that sense and that kind of thing. But these are just thoughts. These are never things that I act on or things that I speak about. These are just random
Yeah.
thoughts if you're scrolling on your phone and it goes past, when you have a dip. However, I don't compare and I don't believe in comparison. I believe in everyone, especially with art. Art is something that's subjective.
Yeah.
What I might not like completely might be someone else's like and I've seen that before, like people I don't enjoy, and I'm like, I don't know what are you doing, and then crowds are laughing, and I was
Yeah.
like, huh? So everyone has their preference and things like that. So, and that's where I learned, and that's why I don't do competitions because like we can have to compare each other, and be like, and I don't want to ever look at my peers and be like, I beat you or I'm better than you because I've got A, B, C, or I've got this. This is what I bring to the table versus what you bring to the table. And most of the time, these things are also rigged. So and favoritism and whatever. So I will never see me competing in anything because I don't feel like I have to be better than anyone or anything like that. I only compare myself to my last performance or my last version or a different version of myself. That's the only time where I focus on energy in comparison. But yeah,
Yeah. So let's go further down the line. So we're still on the upward trend, right? We're talking about breaking through, and I know there's a breakthrough, right? Because I can tell just by speaking to you. So in terms of your first break, right? I mean, you spoke about it and you told us how you got there. How did you get your name out there in a crowded industry?
I think, especially with comedy, if you do good, if you're really, really good, you know, your name spreads because there's so many people and so many new comedians who I've met who already know me,
Mm,
and they're like Lunga, I was like, oh, I'm like, and I'm like, I've never met you before, but they've already heard about it. Like I've heard so much about you, I've heard that kind of thing. So getting your name out there and also doing shows, doing like these one man specials is a really good way for people to like, oh, who's this, and
yeah,
drawing crowds and stuff like that. So that's a really good way of getting your name out there and that kind of thing, because on lineups it's easy to just like, oh, it's a bunch of people about specials, those are like one man shows and stuff like that. Those are really like focused, and
yeah,
there's marketing that goes into all of that stuff. So, that's where people can see who you are and doing shows like that, introducing yourself to the industry. Like with me, with my one man show, with my first one man show, I ran it for 3 nights, and one of the nights was a media night. So I invited in media personalities to come to the show, and different from actors, singers, all of those. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. So Lunga's around, So then you were like, okay, cool. So basically introducing myself to the industry, like, yo, I'm also out here. I'm a comedian. I'm doing my thing, and that because usually these actors and things don't always come to shows unless they know a friend and they supporting their friend or whatever. They usually just they like singers will usually be hang out with singers things and comedians hang out at comedy gigs. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
rare to find comedians hanging out at music gigs all the time just to like hang out and chill. So that's a nice way to like really get your name out there in the industry for other people to also see. And creating
Mm.
content is also a really nice way because you can appear on a lot of people's feeds, and stuff like that. And eventually people be like, oh, this guy's funny. I know a lot of comedians who build their audience strictly off social media as opposed to
Okay.
seeing them first live. So I
Yeah.
guess social media is a really, really powerful, good tool to get your name out there and get a good reach out there. Like Alfred Adrian, I think he really, really used social media to his advantage and got him where he is right now. Because he's always been funny, and these are always his kind of stories, but people didn't know about him. He was just doing gigs and gigs and gigs and gigs. But once he
Yeah.
started to do more content and getting himself out there, he started to build a new audience, completely new audience that have seen him on social media, have now come to his shows, and that's basically how it goes now. So whenever he drops a
Yeah.
show, and he's got sold out shows for days. And these are people who are seeing him from the tapes first, on social media first, and coming now to see the show. So I think
Yeah.
that's a really,
Got
really
you.
powerful strategy to get your name out there in the industry.
100%. Let's speak about money, success, and a bit of real talk, right? So, do you think comedians are undervalued?
I would say maybe when it comes to the negotiation and communications with event owners, when you're trying to host a gig and stuff like that, and yeah, I feel like sometimes there's always this conversation of them wanting to not really pay what what should be paid and what the comics deserve. And it's not even like crazy amounts, but because there's like a standard rate and the standard fee with comedy, circuit gigs, the gigs that you get like every day is those. So you get different types of gigs. You get your circuit gigs, your weekly gigs, and you get your private gigs with your weddings and all of that, birthdays, that and that, and then you get your corporate gigs. So with your circuit
Yeah.
gigs, it's those are like your like practice ground, Every Wednesday this or every Friday that kind of thing. So there's a certain fee, that should be, for comedians, So I feel like when the venue owners are trying to always like pay us less but still want the full quality. That's the time when we really, really feel undervalued as comedians. Um, I'm really struggling to feel or find another kind of general experience where comedians could feel under because comedians are quite I think we're quite respected, like, because when I meet people, whether it's even another artist, whether it's an actor or a
Hmm.
singer, at the moment they hear that I'm a comedian, their face light up, it's like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel I feel loved more and appreciated. I was like, wow. It's like they feel like comedy is better than their talent, like, wow, like I wish I
Yeah.
could tell people, like, maybe I was like, I wish I could sing, I wish I could act like you. But they
Yeah.
all feel like a lot of people feel like it's cool to be funny, the funny guy. So I don't think like people in general undervalue comedians in general. You might undervalue a person or typical or type of comedian and that kind of thing. But in comedy, I feel like as a comedian, you really people's face light up when they oh, you're a comedian. Because literally you can go around the table and people are like, yeah, I'm a singer. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, cool. I'm like a comedian, and everyone like, oh, comedian. Even the other artists be like, oh, you're a comedian. And then sometimes people are even comfortable to start speaking to you, like, oh, listen, yeah, and they ask you questions, so where do you do comedy and all these things, and you just really get this nice interaction. So I would say, like, maybe where it comes to like the money and business side, maybe that's where you can find that. Well, and working with event owners, I feel like that's the only time where I've experienced like you guys are undervaluing us, you don't see what we bring to
Yeah.
the room, or whatever, that kind of thing. That's the only time, yeah, I would feel.
Got you. Got you. And Lunga, if your journey was a title of a comedy special. What would it be?
Oh my word. It will be Lunga is a Malaiti. For those who don't speak Afrikaans, Lunga is a crazy kid or wild child or something like that.
Ah,
Because
man.
like I mentioned before, I'm not the type of person like what you see, what you get. Even if you're like, oh yeah, even if you like look at my skin color and you hear my name, you think like you're gonna get the typical black guy. Nope. I am completely out of this world, and I think I find myself interesting if I want to experience myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I would, and I think like, and the most times people always told me that, like it was the one thing that could describe me, like, yo, you know, you're malite, you're a malite. Yo, like, you're mad, bruh, you're mad, bruh. How could you do that? How could you say that? How could you, yeah, you're mad, bruh, you're mad, bruh. So yeah, I think that would really sum up, sum up my
Listen.
show.
There's the hint for the title of the next one man show, Lunka the Malaiti.
Could be, yeah. They will be like, after they leave, they'll be like, yep, he's definitely a malite.
Oh
Yeah.
man. And Luca, tell me, maybe a bit of advice, right? Because you've been doing this for a while, right? So advice to the next generation. What skill should every entertainer learn outside of their talent?
Oh, communication is a skill because
Hmm.
if you're good on stage but you don't know how to network and speak, you know. Also, good thing that I learned, I did a course in speech and vocal and speech.
Hmm.
Yeah. So, because my manager at the time told me that when I speak, I don't finish my words. Like you don't hear the full word. I'm not my pronunciation needed a little bit of work and that kind of thing. So, really working on public speaking. I did a course also in public speaking, and these are things that
Hmm.
are outside of comedy. So, a lot of things can really um, help you with your craft. So, yeah, there's so many. And just now the other day, I also did another workshop. I attended a workshop where they were just teaching you stuff and they spoke about branding and things like that, what to do, what not to do, how to act and how not to act. Because a lot of times when like clients won't tell you things they don't like about you or why they're not booking you. They will just book the one
Yeah.
that they like and the one that fits the brief. And then they will say, we actually wanted to book that one, but he was so. And then that information never comes to you from the client. So you never know sometimes that you're closing doors for yourself. So it's always
Yeah.
good to learn these things, learn other things and network. Yeah, there's so much more that you can do to empower yourself. Ooh, self journey. How could I not say this? Self journey. Figure out who you are. If you're a creator, right, and you're a comedian, or you do things that people should indulge and appreciate, you want to know yourself so well. And you want to know your strengths, your weaknesses, what inspires you, and all of that, so that you can channel that because when they receive that, they will then receive that too. You allowing them also to experience themselves and their ways and
Yeah.
like their ways of thinking. So
Yeah.
and you'll be able to tap into parts of yourself that could be an inspiring song of maybe of your hurt, but then for someone receiving it, it could be a moment of inspiration or a moment of like, and that's why people's like, oh, Eminem, that album of Eminem that carried me through my depression, because you channeled that and he went within himself. He wasn't just being a rapper. He took a part of himself and he put it out there. And
Yeah.
you never know who it might hit and how it resonates with the next person and how it helps the next person. I've seen lots of
Right. Right.
lots of people crying and telling artists, "You don't know what the song did to me, or that's what did to me." So that's because they
Mm.
were brave enough to go within to take it out, and that's only when it hits. Because something within you can only hit someone in. If you do something on the surface, it's going to hit them also on the surface. But if you're going to go with something that's deep, someone's going to feel it deep. They're not going to go, yeah, they're going to be like, whoo, that's deep,
Mm.
you know?
Yeah.
So if you dig
Right. So.
deep, they feel it deep into it. So yeah,
Mm.
really
Right.
go
So.
within, learning yourself, your strengths, who you are, and put that in your art and craft.
Yeah, man, that is good advice. I mean, some people, and like you say, right? Some people have it, they just don't have the inspiration to go forth and conquer because they were waiting for something or someone, or they needed to hear some things or someone say something before it said. That's my That's my trigger, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's good advice, man. That is really deep.
Yeah. You
So
see? You
so
see? If you dig deep and give them
so
deep, they feel it.
so this is the part of the interview, Lunga. We call it the quick fire segment, right? No thinking, just a quick fire answer. No thinking. I'm gonna ask you a question. You just fire your answer. No thinking.
Turning off the brain.
First, yeah, first gig versus latest gig. What is the biggest difference?
First gig versus latest gig. Confidence.
Okay,
Confidence is the difference.
heckler or silent crowd, which is worse?
Heckler. Because a heckler disrupts you, and a silent crowd, you can still at least finish and go off, but a heckler will throw you off and might make you lose it or swear on stage or like, you know.
Got you. Comedy or business? Which one stresses you more?
Comedy.
Interesting. One word to describe your journey.
Yay! Yay! With the eyes.
Mao.
Yay! Because, yeah,
Amazing.
I would say that.
So we coming to a close, Lunga. But it's been amazing chatting to you, man. I wish we had more time to to go on with this conversation, but I'm sure we'll meet up and connect again. So
For
for
sure.
closing,
We got to do part two. There has
for,
to be a sequel
yeah, yeah, definitely.
when I'm
For
actually
closing,
famous.
I gotta. Well, after this podcast, we're gonna share it to the powers that be, and you never know. You never know. You
For
might get a
sure,
few
for
more
sure, for sure.
followers on TikTok.
Yes, yes, yes. I need to post more first.
So
Otherwise,
tell me,
they'll leave me
Lunga.
again. Yeah. Sorry.
So for closing, what does grind and grow mean to you personally?
Grind and grow. That's the grind and grow is the in between part. The it means to me. It means the journey. Because yeah, you are at point A and you're like, this is where I am right now, and I have this big dream, which is point B, which is Z, and the A B C D E F G. That is the grind and the grow. So grind and grow for me, it speaks about the journey. I mean, even in this interview, it was based on the journey and like how I've grown and what was my grind and that kind of thing. So when I
Yeah.
think grind and grow, I really feel like it speaks strongly about the journey. And I feel like that's the most important part of, because that's where we learn the lessons. That's where we resonate, and that's where we like, oh snap, you did that. Oh, you've been through this. Oh, okay, cool. I can be through that too. And
Yeah.
that's
Got
where
you.
you carve out who you are, personality wise, everything, and what you wanna give back. So yeah, the grind and grow, I would say, would be the interesting part, which is the journey.
Ah, amazing. I like that answer. It means that we kind of doing something right here on the podcast.
Oh no,
So
you're doing
we'll
amazing. You're
we'll
doing
continue
amazing.
that.
You're doing
Amazing.
amazing.
Thanks,
It's always good to give people an opportunity to share this story, because um we when we're speaking to each other, yeah, we don't go this deep. We don't always ask these questions. So it's always, we just speak
Yeah.
on surface, how you doing and that kind of thing. So it's always nice to know, like, oh, is this your thinking process? Oh, this is what you've been through, and to understand what has made you who you are. So shout out to you for having this kind of platform that allows people to actually share that, share that side of them, where people can learn about it. And even I feel like it even it brings warmth to the person, makes them more real and more tangible for you. Like, I like you now. I like you even more after I heard your story. So salute to
Yeah.
you for
Hundred
creating a
percent.
platform.
Thank you, sir. Lunga, what's next for Lunga Chuka?
What's next for me is a really big project I'm looking forward to. What I did not mention is that I also have an NPO where I work with kids. I was inspired from the NPOs that I used to work at, but now I work with kids myself. And we focus on
Amazing.
leadership camps and holiday programs. And we have one holiday program coming up in June, where it started out as a comedy workshop, and we are partnered with Artscape Theatre. But now it's become a arts workshop. So I've got different people of the industry coming in, and what we're doing is we're bridging the gap between the kids in the informal settlements and the kids who can't afford to, or who parents can't afford to give them this experience of workshop, or even give them experience of performing on stage. Artscape has now come on board, so I train these kids. I'll bring them in and we get people from the industry, and we have like a week workshop where we're going to train them and things like that, and train them about mic control, train them about the art and all of that stuff, the history, that kind of thing. And then in the end of the day, the last day, we have one big celebration and performance where they get to perform. So yeah,
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, gigs are gonna I'm going to be doing gigs and all of that, but that's the one thing that's been on my mind really, and I've been really excited for. And we're having talks
Nice.
about in the meeting now. So I would say that's my one big thing
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to right now.
Yeah, man. Let us know more about that, man. We can share. We can definitely share that for you. But that sounds exciting. Lunga, where can people support your journey?
You can catch me on social media. It's Lunga Chuka on all platforms. It's TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. Yeah. Anything else on there, it's a fake profile. Do not follow me. That person might want to ask you to join some trading. so, yeah, catch me on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. Yeah, that's exactly where you'll catch me. That's where I post everything, and you get a glimpse of who I am and what's my life like.
Amazing, Lunga. We're running out of time, but thank you so much, sir. I really enjoyed the chat with you. I appreciate the time that you've taken out of your busy life to come speak to me and maybe share your journey and maybe inspire, motivate, and inspire someone that's watching our show right now. So thank you. I really appreciate your time. I definitely will catch up with you again soon.
That's true.
And yeah, we want to hear more about the Artscape partnership and what
Yeah,
amazing things you're doing through your MPO. So thank you so much, and thank
absolutely.
you everyone for
Yeah,
for watching. And we'll catch you very soon. And Lunga, bring your friends to the Grind and Grow show. Remember, we have a website, grindandgrow.online. We've got amazing features on our website. You can catch all the episodes that we record of our podcasts. You can find some small business courses that we're going to add and partner with very soon. There's also a nice feature called a business tool request. So, Lunga, do you know about this? You need to know about
no,
this. So, if there is a business opportunity in terms of a tool that you require to operate and move your business forward, we at Grind and Grow will build this for you at no cost. You pop your idea on our website, we'll try to build it, and everyone in the community and the network benefits from it. So that's quite amazing. And we'll
that
definitely
is amazing.
we'll definitely get you on the website as well, where you can find your network and you can network with like-minded individuals and see where it goes.
Wow, thank you so much, man. This has been more than just a conversation. I appreciate the time that we shared, and thank you so much for everything, man. I appreciate it. And like I said, this is a really cool platform. If you ever feel like I'm tired of this, I'm telling you now, keep it going, brother, because it's really cool, and we need to hear more people's stories. So, thanks, man.
Thank you,
Appreciate you.
sir. I appreciate you. Thanks, Lunga. Have a good one. Thank you.
You too, man. Good night.
Cheers. Bye bye.